would have been funny if it were not tragic, indeed cruel. Spare a thought tonight for the family of Officer Kabiru, the Kenyan policeman who went missing in Haiti in March. That is 6 months ago. All the while, the family's hopes were kept alive through what now looks like a swapping of lack of information with misinformation, followed brutally by information. So was the family misled for 6 months? Well, if you trust Moses Kuria, then the government was misled for even longer, 2 years. The former cabinet secretary, who would know a thing or two about national secrets, says Meg Whitman, the former U.S. ambassador in Nairobi, was running the show here for 2 years. Haiti mission, the postmortem follows shortly. Back home, the smoke signals out of the chimney atop ODM headquarters are sending a confusing mix of orange and yellow. So is 2027 yellow or orange for Raila Odinga and ODM? The foot soldiers say, refer to Baba's speech. And so for that speech, we scanned through Baba's teleprompter. On Sam Sense, making sense of exam results in Kilifi County. Bonya's bone remains on the education sector for a headcount of some 50,000 ghost students. Kaikai's kicker kicks for the Gen Z to hit the polling stations and get registered as voters. And on My Take, our worst fears are confirmed. Political parties are overrated. Jamila's memo is away tonight. The gang is here.
I must use this occasion to honor the Kenyan officers, Mr. Samuel Tumoi, Benedict Kabiru, and Kennedy Nzuve, who lost their lives in the lines of duty.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Tonight, the hashtag is NewsGang at Citizen TV Kenya. 22422 is the text message line. If you want to drop us a text message, we'll be taking a look at your feedback. We want to just continue with this conversation from where we'd started earlier on the program tonight. And this is on this issue. And maybe, Jay, some would say, well, you know, this is focusing on one incident, right? We've lost 3 officers to date in 15 months of operation. But what for you stands out with how this particular case has been handled? You know, why are we talking about this? Why is this a big deal? Why is this very important?
It's devoid of empathy and compassion, especially on the part of the government. And ultimately, somebody must take responsibility, and I doubt if it is President Ruto or the lead of the servicemen in Haiti. It sits squarely at Harambee House, and therefore Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen must take the flak. You hear the president talk about he's taking time to honor these 3 servicemen. That a family learns about the death of their loved one from that speech takes the honor away from what the president had intended. Because we could have hoped that before the president spoke thousands of miles away, the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, the Inspector General of Police, and all the leadership of the National Police Service could have trooped to the family's residence, condoled with them, and perhaps at the steps of Harambee House informed the nation that we had indeed lost this gallant son of the soil. But the question begs, how was he confirmed dead after all these months? How did they know that finally he is dead? Is there a body that Kafiru's family will be presented with? Because you've informed them their kin is dead. The next phase is for them to plan for a burial. I see Mushiri Nyaga's statement saying that they will cooperate with the family. The only cooperation that that family needs is to have the body of their son as soon as today for closure.
Yeah, indeed. And just to reiterate once again that it cannot be that Benedict Kabiru's mother, Jacinta Kabiru, who after hearing the president in that sound clip we've just played a few minutes ago, herself then learning of that from his speech. I want us to listen to Jacinta Kabiru, who's Benedict Kabiru's mother, who's actually reacting to the speech by President William Ruto in which he was honoring the death of the soldiers and perhaps for the first time acknowledging the death of her son in Haiti.
Now, why are they torturing me? Why have they tortured me all that wrong, knowing very well, because I know President awezi akasema kitu yenye haiko. I urge them, they come out, then they bring the remains of my son. I do what is necessary because I can't believe until I see he's there. He's normal. And that is the pain of a mother, and it goes to, Jay, what you were saying. How did they ascertain the death of this fallen soldier, son of the soil, police officer? And she's not the only one in anguish. The brother also reiterating what Sam had said earlier, Benedict didn't go there on his own.
We trusted you with our son, Benedict. Is this how you are going to repay back? You are not giving us the information. You are not feeling the pain that we are feeling.
And finally, the uncle just sort of seemingly coming to terms with the news, the heartbreaking news that they heard from New York.
Tumekuwa tukiamini kwamba iko kitu anatuficha. Hiyo ndio imani yetu. Hiyo tumekuwa tukifikiria ama tumeamini iko ukweli ambaye hawatuelezi. Sababu ya kwenda kotini na wakili wetu tumeenda kotini kwamba wasukumwe na kuti waweze kutoa ukweli yote. Badala kukaa kutuambia wanamtafuta, watuambie ni jagani wanatumia kumtafuta.
The pain of a family that lacks information and is in the dark and is simply wanting to be told about what happened to their kin. Sam?
Yes, and if Kenyans are to rely on the communication from the National Police Service signed by Mushiri Nyaga, the Director of Corporate Communications spokesperson, you read this statement, you can actually not tell whom they're talking about. Because they're just describing. There's no single mention of Kabiru's name.
By name.
That statement. And I've been in disbelief. I've actually been reading it again and again just to find the name. There's no mention of that name. Why? Why would you write communication to the public without acknowledging whom you're talking about? Because they say that on 26th of March 2025, the National Police was notified that a Kenyan police officer serving with the Kenyan-led MSSM in Haiti was missing in action. Who? The officer had been reported missing while on duty the previous day, which is 25th of March. Following an ambush, they described the route. Then they go ahead to say the National Police Service promptly informed the officer's family of the incident. Which family? Then says, since then, the multinational security support mission, in collaboration with the Haitian National Police, has been conducting a meticulous search and rescue operation to locate the missing officer. There's no mention whether this officer has been found. Why? Because the following statement says, in a tragic turn of events, the National Police Service received information regarding the death of the missing police officer and the family has been notified. No mention of Benedict Kabiru. Then you find the NPS extends its deepest and most heartfelt condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of the fallen officer, and assures them of its unwavering and continuous support during this time of profound sorrow. That officer has a name. Yeah. I don't know how the police service can explain why this statement was actually released to the public. I don't know what end it serves. Because if you cannot acknowledge your own, like the family of Kabiru is saying, your own that was deployed to go to Haiti, to work, to help humanity, as we were told by the president. You don't have that humanity to acknowledge who is this person who is dead. And it reminds us of how the National Police Service has handled matters and cases of Kenyans who have lost their lives in custody in different circumstances. This week alone, there's another Kenyan who has been said to have lost his life. I think it was at the Mombasa Central Police Station.
Yes.
We all remember the case of Alberto Ojwang and how communication was done by the leadership of the National Police Service. So if we were shocked of how the National Police Service handled the death, the killing
of civilians,
of a civilian, how about the death of their own? For me, this is shocking, and I don't think this should be the way the National Police Service communicates about its own officers as serving in a different land in the honor of a country called Kenya.
You know, Linus, we talked about even our own practice here in the media, but even when you think about, and I think, Jay, we were talking about this during the break, even with the way we communicate information about the passing of a friend, a loved one, even amongst us as people, there is a way we have this done. We ensure that we speak to the family first, that they don't hear it from, you know, other quarters, members of the public. Even amongst ourselves, we have tradition. And yet, in something that is as major as this, with the government, we get it wrong.
In fact, Yvonne, it's more dignified among the uniformed services than it is among civilians. It's really elaborate. And you just need to, every villager must have witnessed one incident or the other. And I remember when we were young children and a police officer was lost in the border of Kenya, Somalia. I remember it was somewhere in Liboi. And the meticulous way the family was informed, you know, there will always be an advance team of police officers that will come to the village. The same happens even in the military. So it's such a dignified, elaborate process that normally protects the dignity of the family. Is this a case of mishandling? I think it's a very, very serious case of mishandling laid down protocol. Because when you look at how the police and the military do these things, it's very, very elaborate. And don't forget, even the burial is such a spectacle in terms of just how much dignity they try to extend to the fallen officer. You know, a gun salute, the uniformed services taking care of the grave and all that. Why was this handled this way? I can only read the fact that we seem so swallowed up by the events up there in Haiti, up in New York. And if you noticed, we learned a little bit more about the mission from the president in his speech. And I just want us to listen to 1.7 on the quality of equipment that Kenya has received in Haiti.
I must commend the United States. They did make available logistics, vehicles, but unfortunately, most of the vehicles were second-hand vehicles, and therefore they broke down a lot many times. And in fact, it put our personnel in great danger when they broke down in very dangerous places.
And then we have the issue and the question of the funding to the multinational force, MSS, where the president complained that they have been operating below capacity. Let's just listen to that question of funding.
We have been operating at a 40% capacity. Initially, it was expected that 2,500 security personnel would be made available. Unfortunately, they were not made available. It was also expected that there would have been force multipliers, that we would have armored personnel carriers, we would have enough logistical support to be able to make this mission successful.
So you can see the issues were very big compared to one family.
Yeah.
And I want us to listen to the president's commitment to the people of Haiti being part of humanity and how frustrated he's been by how it's been going.
And I don't understand why we cannot be serious. The people of Haiti may be people of African descent, but for heaven's sake, they are members of the human race, like us. And they deserve as much, not less. And number three, it is my very considered view that we must have the necessary logistical support to be able to make that mission succeed.
Something comes out very clearly here, Yvonne, that all is not well with the mission in Haiti. It's not going on as planned, whether you're talking of resources, whether you're talking of the quality of vehicles that are in use, and everything to do with that. So in the scheme of things, Kabiru becomes really something small. And I want us to hear further about the president's commitment to the Haiti mission.
The one thing that Kenya will not do is to walk away from Haiti in haste. That we will not do. Because all said and done, we believe that they are members of humanity, and we owe them a clear transition, because whatever has been achieved, if we don't provide a proper transition, we are unlikely to lose everything that we have achieved.
Now, the Haiti question is really complicated. And if you remember when this whole question of deploying the Kenyan police service came up, there was a lot of debate. A lot of analysts were talking about it, that are you sure you want to do this? Because Haiti is a difficult place and has been since 1804 when they got independence. You count the number of foreign interventions that have been made in that country, they're over 20. Just between 1993 and 2022, the UN itself, the interventions are about 5 that were not successful. And I saw them talking about an expansion of the MSS or the multinational force expanded to about 5,000. This is still only a quarter of what the US deployed in 1994 to restore the presidency of Jean-Bertrand Aristide, who had been overthrown in a coup. There were 20,000 American soldiers in 1994 deployed to Haiti. So this raises a lot of questions in terms of how do you resolve the issue in Haiti? Is force the only way to go? Is the deployment of foreign forces helping in any way? What are the political processes, for example, that and conversations that are taking place up there to allow the Haiti people to resolve their differences? Because we sound, just from hearing the president, that Kenya has got a bloodied face. This is egg in our face. It's not going as it was intended. We went there with this intention to restore everything back to normal. But now, just listening to what the president had to say in New York, it's not been going on well, Yvonne.
Indeed, the questions immediately this decision was announced were numerous. the funding that you talk about, what we're going to do there? Were we competent enough, even with things like understanding the language, a largely French-speaking country? But at the time, the talk was focused on that there was going to be a lot of support for America, from America. And so when you hear of the frustrations of the president now saying they've only received about 40% of the funding, I want us to listen to how things were last year. In August, I sat down with Meg Whitman, the then ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Kenya, and this was what she talked about with respect to U.S. contribution to this mission.
We've contributed about $200 million of both products, or not products, but equipment, and also setting up the place where all the Kenyans are living, and then also helping to raise money from the international community that will go into the U.S., or that has already gone into the U.S. Trust Fund.
So that's interesting, because the president said there was second-hand vehicles that were offered by the United States, but it wasn't just about the amount of money that they were giving in terms of equipment, that also promised financial funding. Let's listen to Meg Whitman on that.
But we didn't send the Kenyans there by any means. It was really the international community that asked Kenya to do this. And as I said, the international community was very grateful. We have provided financial support, not only the equipment, but also actually $100 million. Yeah. So we provided financial report. And then others are joining in from a boots on the ground, if you will. But we don't put boots on the ground in every instance. And this is one where we decided not to.
So she says that $100 million in financial support was given. But yet, even as she was making these statements, even at the time, by this time they had been deployed for about a month or two. There was already complaints of some of the officers who had not received their pay. Their families and children here were not even able to go to school. So it is very apparent that the issues with the funding and the financing of this mission started just a few months in. At the time I spoke to her, I asked her about that report that had been seen in the paper, and she promised to do something about it.
I was not aware of that until I saw the same report you did in the newspaper. So I've been checking with our people back in Washington, D.C., and what I understand is that they will get their remuneration on Thursday or Friday of this week. So that was unacceptable. That should not have happened. They should have gotten their remuneration from the day they landed in Haiti.
By then, there was already trouble on the horizon. And, take us through the numbers, Sam, because by this time in, they were not receiving their salaries, they were not receiving their remuneration, despite the fact that, then Ambassador was saying $100 million in finance was given, $200 million in equipment, also setting things up. But yet, it would seem back home, there was trouble with this mission, even trying to get allocation of the funds. It would seem like we've really taken account of the bill for our police officers in Haiti, haven't we?
Oh, yes, it's been quite a journey, even securing the resources, of course, at the same time securing the support of the Kenyan institutions. Let me just start from where Haiti started, the Haiti mission itself. October 2022, Haiti calls out for help because they were facing a lot of struggle with the gang menace in there, especially at the capital, Port-au-Prince. July 2023, Kenya agrees and promises that they're going to deploy 1,000 officers to Haiti to be in that mission. Of course, this was after a lot of negotiations, a lot of appeals from the American authorities, but at the time it was not very clear who was really pushing for this. If you recall, the messages that you used to hear from President William Ruto was that we are part of the humanity and we owe it to humanity to go ahead and support the people of Haiti. But then, so that was July 2023. Kenya agrees to do that. October 2nd, 2023, the UN approves a multinational security support mission to Haiti, and it was supposed to operate initially for a period of 12 months, and there would be a review in the 9th month. But of course, you recall that there was a lot of challenges in getting that mission to take off. There was so many challenges being taken to court, and of course, the government of Kenya had to go into that. But now, before we get to the numbers, there was also some developments after the courts instructed the government of Kenya to do what it has to do, because there was a question of reciprocal arrangement that the law in Kenya allows that Kenya can deploy its police officers to a reciprocating country. At the time, there were questions that were being raised, including by Ekuru Court, yes, that do we have a legitimate government a legitimate authority in Haiti that would lead to a negotiation between Kenya and Haiti to check even if there's any reciprocal arrangement that can be reached? The court said that question needs to be answered. So what did we see after that? There were some papers that were signed in State House. The then Prime Minister came to Nairobi.
We know what happened after that. There's a reason I'm laughing, because we know what happened right after that.
By the time he was getting back to Haiti, did he?
No, he didn't get back.
No, he didn't get there. He didn't get
so things had changed.
So
thereafter, I think a council was brought on board and did some bit of work to have a bit of sign of legitimacy. Then very quickly, we saw a deployment going to Haiti, despite insistence by the likes of Ekuru Court that that is not what the court had said.
So it's trying to regularize things,
exactly.
Right?
And so I think the first contingent was sent out in June. It was around the same time there was an uprising in Kenya, the Gen Z uprising, if you remember that. And thereafter, so the problem started almost immediately because the officers are out. I think there was another one in July. As they are going there, they realize resources that have been promised are not coming in. And therefore, Article 223 kicks in, and which I want us now to look at the numbers. On the 11th of September 2024, there was an approval by the National Treasury for up to 181 million shillings in support of the Haiti mission, which was supposed to be allocated. Of course, the Control of Budget approved that, and the money was paid out. Then, in quick succession, the following month, before even the expiry of a whole 30 days, 7th of October to be specific, another whopping 1.98 billion shillings is approved by the National Treasury to finance that mission, and that was cleared. Then comes 17th of March 2025, which is this year, another 229 million shillings was approved as an Article 223 expenditure. So meaning that as of that time, some 2.4 billion shillings had already been cleared by the Control of Budget and, of course, the National Treasury to go into financing that mission. So it shows you how much Kenya was putting in it. And remember, the promise had been that Kenya is not putting any money in it.
Yes.
We are just deploying our officers. Right. There are certain member states of the UN that are going to help in this. Now, beyond that, the cost of the Haiti mission is beyond the officers, because after the Gen Z-driven or informed changes that came, you remember there was change of guard at the leadership of the National Police Service. Nur Gabo was then Deputy IG, I think, in charge of administration police. He was removed and sent to Vigilance House. But shortly after, he was appointed to be a Consular General. Is that the title? To Haiti. So he established a consulate. What was the cost of establishing that? 86.7 million shillings is the amount of money that has been allocated to finance the operations of that facility. And, of course, establishing the office, buying furniture, paying employee emoluments, and that is a figure according to the budget of 2025-2026. You can see the cost implication that is coming with this particular decision by the government of Kenya, also to say what the president has been speaking about. But all through, even when you look at the different publications across the world, they are talking about a mission that needed more resources to the tune of $600 million US. If you have to convert that, it will give you 78 billion shillings every year. How much money is available? Even if you have to do the math that MEG is talking about, I mean, it's pretty low. And at the same time, it was meant to be a mission of 2,500 officers. We only sent 1,000. And if you do the calculation, you find that the president is talking about 40%. I believe it's 40% of the personnel, because 1,000 out of 2,500 expected number, it gives you 40%. So then the other figures that you're finding is that the mission was supported. It received $113 million. More than half of that came from Canada, with the US in second place contributing some $15 million. So when you look at these numbers, you are then asking yourself, was Meg Whitman talking about what the U.S. will commit or will give, or what the U.S. had given? Because when you look at the data that is coming from some of the publications, including those of the UN, you don't see so much money going into that. So really, I think even as you continue this conversation, there has been the question of what is the future of this mission. I don't know if you have the clip of former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka, who has a few views about what should happen in 1/8 of what should happen in the coming days. Listen.
the Haiti mission is a failed mission, misadvised. We said as opposition, right from the word go, that we should not have taken our boys to Haiti. When we attended the funeral of one of them somewhere near Kitengela, we even called on William Ruto to make sure that our boys come home. He didn't listen. And now he's complaining to the whole world. In fact, what you should do, because I'm a foreign relations practitioner, I just want you to just find out how many heads of state attended that William Ruto convened high segment on Haiti. You'll be amazed. The whole thing is a disaster. We insist that our boys should come back home, and without a proper mandate of the UN Security Council, whose responsibility it is to ensure world peace and security, William Ruto has no business trying to now cry over spilled milk. Let him bite the bullet and bring our boys back.
Quite strong-worded statement by the former vice president there about the future of that. But that's a very important question, because come 2nd of October 2025, which is next week on Thursday,
yes,
the mission's mandate will have expired. Sure. There has been reports that the U.S. is considering to change the mandate and the description of that mission to be bigger than what it is now. But there appears to be some P5 member states that have veto powers that are a bit hesitant in as far as allowing that to happen. So we're at that point. And I think the statement by the president is quite telling when he's saying that we are not the type to walk away. But then you cannot stay there if the mission's mandate is not extended beyond the 2nd of October. I don't know.
And just on that, I'd like us to listen to Christopher Lando on 180, you know, what that future could possibly look like.
This new force would consist of more than 5,500 personnel, more than 5 times the size of the current MSS mission, and would operate under a mandate authorized by Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. This mandate would empower the force to proactively target gangs and restore security to Haiti, while ensuring it has the appropriate tools to succeed.
One of the things I think I wanted us to also listen to was, and before you come in with Meg Whitman, who's the former ambassador, you know, I asked her as well on what success in Haiti would look like. 114.
Restoring peace and calm to really a gang-torn, war-torn country that has had lots of challenges for many, many years. And I think that's where, to a large degree, that the Haitian police and the Kenyan police are working very well together, having secured the port, having secured some of downtown, having secured a number of different places. So I think it's going well. I mean, in fact, I know it's going well, but there's more work to do. So I think the Kenyans should be very proud of what the Kenyan police have done there, even if they weren't initially supporters. But the Haitian people, they need our support.
And now, at the time, of course, she was a very strong proponent of this mission. And that is where I think we did a story here on Citizen Television this week about whether the country was misled, about whether the president was misled about this mission, because she was a big champion of this. At the time, a big supporter of President William Ruto's administration, Linus.
Yes, and that's it's on her doorstep that Moses Kuria is placing all the blame. And I want us to just have a look at that tweet on X by Moses Kuria. And Moses Kuria does state there that the fact that the Trump administration admitted during the UN special session on Haiti that MSS lacks a broad mandate backed by a strong UN resolution is just a tip of the iceberg. And he continues to say, Ambassador Meg Whitman literally ruled Kenya for 2 years. The Haiti misadventure was one of the many personal decisions that she took. Anthony Blinken was helpless in her wake. Kenya will continue paying the price for terrible Meg's reign of terror for a long time to come. And he concludes by saying, rest in peace, Benedict Kabiru, and your 2 fallen comrades. Here is why this tweet is important. Moses Kuria was a cabinet secretary in trade, and cabinet basically means you have access to quite a lot of information, including activities in government. And one thing that I pick from that tweet is something it talks about many personal decisions. And I listen to the president sometimes, and there's a lot of, there's something really heavily personal about Haiti. And now Moses Kuria says Meg Whitman was also personal in this. And of course, the change of administration in the U.S. changed the priorities as well. I don't think the Trump administration has the same view as the Biden administration. Well, it's very clear it doesn't have the same view on many, many things. So there's absolutely no way Haiti can be an exception. What needed to have prevailed here is our own cool head as a country. You can't be misled. You are a nation. You're an adult as a country. And I'm talking figurative here. So how do you get how do you get misled by an ambassador of any country? So did we weigh this properly? Even as the questions that were listed there by some about the constitutionality, all these things were raised right here. We never had a sufficient internal debate about this. And now Moses Kuria, the former cabinet secretary for trade, who was cabinet secretary for the 2 years that Meg Whitman was reigning, what did he call it? A reign of terror. Yeah, he was cabinet secretary at the time, and you remember he only left cabinet after the Gen Z protest. Must be knowing. It's also, he has, we can't dismiss this. This you can consider important information from a person who served in cabinet. And finally, remember, he calls Haiti a misadventure.
Those are heavy words from him, and all of those questions that were raised, not just by the media, journalists, civil society actors, legal minds, on the funding, on the constitutionality, on whether we could send police officers in the first place. And we were told, no, this is A-OK, only for us to hear lamentations from the highest office in the land in New York, sounding quite frustrated as a president. When we come back, Giovanni will have the last word on this, and then we will move to our second conversation, taking a look at what's happening back home in our local politics. This is NewsGang.